Hey guys, welcome to Totally Legit Science, and today you're birdwatching with Magpie. So today we're going to be looking at Rend. Now, some of you may not have heard of Rend, and frankly that's not surprising because it was just sort of thrown out there the other day by, I guess, a handful of ex-Blizzard devs. Now, I mean, there's so many of them running around that really doesn't really necessarily mean much, but they do have some gameplay footage out there, and they're talking about making a open world-ish survival competitive game. I mean, you've heard it all before, right? Well, the thing is that this game actually looks to be potentially pretty decent, right? I'm actually kind of excited about this game. Now, a couple of the reasons why. First things first is that rather than like Crowfall, I think it is, or like some of those other games where you basically had, three factions, because once again in this game it's purple, orange, and green fighting one another. So rather than having normally those RPG MMO elements, this game takes more of a focus on the shooter, third-person shooter kind of variety. Looks like you go with everything from little wooden spears to bows to crossbows, maybe more. There might be some sort of melee weapons, but really it seems like they're going for a good focus on a sort of, I don't know if we could really say like Twitch shooter, but it could be. And that's a bit interesting because compared to most survival games, well, with most survival games, that's the thing. The goal is survival. So it's generally you're low on ammunition, you're trying to gather supplies, sometimes you're just griefing people for the hell of it, or, because you actually need their shit, on the off chance. But this game, you basically, as soon as you come in, you join one of the three factions. You're put into that faction. And you have this base protected by some sort of giant crystal. And then every night, I think it's on some sort of regular basis, these spirits pop out, and then you kill them to obtain their souls, and put it in the crystal to charge up some sort of giant thing on a magical world tree. Now, this is... already here we got some interesting wrinkles going on in the game, because once again it's not just about killing the other people, it's about charging up this world tree, whatever that does in particular. Now, on top of that, there's other people can kill you and take your souls and put it on their teams. There's a little bit of competition there. But on a regular basis, so they want to set it up so people will be online when this happens. So your base is protected. Your primary base. I don't know if you can make other little bases, other little satellite bases, because there is some sort of, once again, building survival elements in this game. But so on a regular basis, your main base is undefended. So let's say every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So that way, hopefully, everybody on the teams can actually get there to defend it. Now, these waves of demons attack your base, and players can attack your base too. And if they destroy your base, or they destroy this like crystal in your base, then your team is wiped off that server for the duration of that match, effectively. Now, what exactly happens there is a bit of a concern, but we'll get into that later. So, you have this this whole thing of like you're trying to gather the resources and kind of like build up your tech tree and gather equipment and other stuff. There's like another wrinkle when it comes to taming critters. And you're basically trying to survive. It's kind of like a big game of Jenga. It's not like about wiping out your opposition, it's about outlasting them. Because there's always going to be these giant waves of demons, and they said that basically at some point, you won't be able to defend against these demons. They're just going to be so ridiculously powerful. So it is a game of survival in the long term. Don't know if they're going to have food, water, those sort of concerns, so they did put in weather. That weather would be a concern. So, for instance, another little wrinkle that they have in the game is that later on, there's this hellish frozen landscape that they've described, where there's these little doors to dungeons. Now, initially these are locked, but eventually they'll be unlocked. Now, if you can get through the frozen, frigid landscape to get into this dungeon and clear the dungeon, then you get unique gear, and it is literally unique. Like, it gives you the ability to climb walls or whatever, but you will be the only person in this server during this match that has that ability. I don't know if these things will persist between matches, but that's how it works. You are now the guy with this ability. So there's going to be a little bit of competition between these souls, between these special things that they have there, and ultimately it's going to be it sounds pretty interesting because you have all this with, once again, they're promising that the first thing they want to start with is performance. Because that's the issue with all these other survival games I've noticed is that you still have the rubber banding, and you still have the lag, and you still have the combat systems that really aren't quite there, very sort of clunky and finicky, and and if this game is legitimately like a decent third-person shooter with the elements thrown in and all these little wrinkles in regards to winning, it's not just run over, destroy the enemy base. It's about building up your defenses and your capabilities and defending your base at a certain point in time. It sounds pretty interesting in my opinion. So there's going to be something like 4 classes. There's going to be a soldier, a survivalist, whatever that entails. I think there's a builder, and then there's a mystic. Now the mystic is relevant because of, like I said earlier, in regards to training critters, there's this interesting wrinkle. So the way that it works is that you kill a critter, and sometimes this portal to the spirit realm opens up, and you can go into the spirit realm, hunt down this critter's soul, and then basically dominate that critter. You get their soul, and then they become tamed. They're now your pet. And I guess the idea is that you can maybe summon them at any time as well, because you own their soul, I guess. But the thing is that this spirit realm is not just for critters, it's also for some sort of like rare resources. And the mystics, presumably, are the people who can also open these portals and give you access to these portals in the spirit realm. And as you might imagine, the spirit realm is a pretty dangerous place. Lots of dangerous critters in there. So I'm wondering, right, if when a team loses, maybe there's like, because they say they wipe you off the server, I don't know, like how would that work? Do they just put you onto another server with other people who have kind of fallen out, who have lost in their matches, and it makes a match out of that? Or maybe there's more interaction, like you're all in the spirit realm now, and that makes the spirit realm more dangerous because this entire team is now chilling in the spirit realm, or the shadow realm. But yeah, at any rate, there's not a lot we have on it. The trailer is a little vague, but it looks pretty sweet. Should be actually coming out here this spring, so this season should be in alpha. Yeah, early access. What are you gonna do? Well, honestly, I mean, this game sounds legitimately interesting. I'm gonna give it a shot. And hey, if you guys are interested, I'll let you know what I find out. So this is Magpie signing off. This is not a magpie. This is a magpie. This doesn't conduct science. This does conduct science. Make sure to like, favorite, and subscribe so you can get more science.